Women Helping Women, top bill our Women's Month episode on The Boss. We listened to 5 remarkable Filipino women of ZONTA International, a leading global organization of professionals empowering women through service and advocacy.
For 100 years now, ZONTA International has been leading the charge in advancing the status of women worldwide. Founded by American journalist and playwright Marian De Forest, ZONTA's members have already reached nearly 30,000, spanning 1,200 clubs from 63 countries, including the Philippines. Among its notable members is Amelia Earhart, the first woman aviator to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and among the early supporters of the Equal Rights Amendment. But ZONTA isn't all just lip service. It's been helping women in the field of public affairs and policy making, having consultative status with the Council of Europe, the United Nations, and the International Labor Organization, among others. Here in the Philippines, ZONTA Club is among the champions in combating human trafficking, which has seen a rise in human and children victims coming from vulnerable sectors of the society. And as it enters a new century, ZONTA is determined to live up to its mantra of empowering women through service and advocacy. For The Boss, I'm Bruce Rodriguez.
With us now for more for a panel chat and our remarkable women special on this International Month of March. Women who have made a mark in their careers and made helping women their advocacy. Rita D., immediate past president and ZONTA Club Makati Ayala and Pico de Loro Beach and Country Club president. Olivia Ferry, past international president, vice president, Solimil Corporation, and president, Towns Foundation Incorporated. Dandy Gomez, past international director and climate change commission consultant. Attorney Daisy Arce, past Area 1 Director and President of Capital Markets Integrity Corporation. And Eleanor Soriano, Member President Chairman, Top WP Kabalikat Award, ZONTA Club of Makati Paseo de Rojas Foundation, President and wife of Mayor Jefferson Soriano of Tuguegarao City. Good to have you all with us, ladies. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And happy Women's Month.
Happy Women's Month.
You are all part of an organization. For some reason, you've come together because of the advocacy here, but you all come from very diverse backgrounds.
Yes.
Rita.
Yes. I came from the travel industry.
For 30 years.
Well, a lot more, but I should stop counting. I'm really glad after a lot of years working, I have been able to give myself time now to be able to help others.
How did you come to choose which advocacy you wanted? Why ZONTA?
Well, you know, I always like to help other women. Really, I mean, I guess since I was young, I like helping other women, especially. But the advocacy that I took when I was president for 2 years was this French NGO. This lady who has been here for about 20 years, helping young girls who are sexually abused be rehabilitated and become empowered again. And this I was very, very lucky to be able to be part of. What I did for them was I introduced them, the association, which is called Chameleon, to different corporations for them to get the local funding. Because Chameleon was before and right now are being funded by countries in Europe, and they are just helping our own Filipina girls. So what we did for them during my term was to connect them to the local corporations, which ended up very well.
And this is all about women helping women, which takes us to the international space. Livy, you have a lot of experience as past international president. What are the goals of ZONTA International that is now being promoted throughout the world? What makes the organization so relevant to the women and girls of today?
Well, the goals of the international president, or the goals of each biennium, actually differ depending on the international president. And, but all of these goals are, of course, meant or intended for the empowerment of women around the world through service and advocacy, which is our mission statement. I was the 48th president of ZONTA International, currently the only one, the only president from Asia. In fact, there has been about 54 international presidents in ZONTA. The current president now is a German, and majority of that were, of course, from North America, that's the United States and Canada, also from Europe. There's one from Africa, there's one from New Zealand, a few from Australia, and one from Asia.
What do you bring to the table as the only Asian president?
During my biennium, I did have projects on human trafficking around the world, but we focused mainly on Eastern Europe and as well as well, Asia, mainly Thailand and the Mekong region. But we did have human trafficking kits and a lot of information that is passed on to the different clubs so that they can conduct their own projects on human trafficking. You know, human trafficking is a very hidden crime, but there's about, I think about 71% of about 40 million who are trafficked are women and girls. And about 75% of those are above the age of 18, 25% below the age of 18, and mostly for girls, they are sexually exploited. So human trafficking had to be combated.
Talk to us about service here in the Philippines when we talk about human trafficking, the concern about women getting married too early or getting separated at a certain point. I think that is what the Philippine setting is relevant to women and girls right now. Is that correct from the Philippine point of view?
Okay, let me explain first. Early marriage in the Philippines is not rampant because of the Magna Carta for women. However, when it comes to trafficking, yes, the different clubs have trafficking. They address trafficking, like the ZONTA Club of Cagayan de Oro too. They're very active in this. However, when it comes to projects, I'd like to mention specifically 3 projects which have been recognized by ZONTA International. The first one is the ZONTA Club of Makati, where Livy belongs. They have this psychological center where all these abused girls are housed, and the ZONTA Club of Makati addresses this by educating them, giving them all the services so that they can address the trauma that the children encountered, or the girls. Now there's another one, which is the ZONTA Club of Muntinlupa and environs. They linked with the city, the Muntinlupa city, and they had this Sagip project. It's a 24/7 where the violated women can go and they can be assisted legally, psychologically, physically, everything, including health. And then the third one is the PIDOS of the ZONTA Club of Quezon City, which is the pre-departure for overseas people. And they are assisted, trained on what they will experience once they're out of the country. And you know what's very nice about these projects? The one of Makati started in 1998. Quezon City started in 1983. And the one of Sagip is something like in the 1990s. So you can see that it is a sustained project. It is not a project that was started and ended because of the term of a president.
So how does it work out? I mean, sustainability is an issue. I mean, you can start up any project, but then it ends with the change of the terms of the presidents. What makes it sustainable?
Well, you know, what I discovered is that most of the projects, like the 3 that I mentioned, and which Rita also in her club, the Chameleon, when the members become inspired and they see the effect on the women, then it is carried on by the next president, and you can see that it becomes then sustained. That is what happens. However, the other clubs have their projects, which are, for example, the health on women, like the reproductive system of women. So they assist that. And there are some where they teach livelihood projects. These are also sustainable. However, they have varied livelihood projects that they teach. So, and then the Club of Daisy
Is
has
the
scholarship.
first.
Scholarship.
And it's the first in the whole of Asia.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because
Yes,
I said
it's
Area 1.
That is correct, yes.
And you've sustained a lot of these projects, the scholarships for one.
One of our longest projects, which ended after 20 years, was a project supported by the Harvard School of Medicine. It was a project to educate women, especially the marginalized women, to educate them on, because of they're marginalized, there's not enough money for milk. So they were taught that protein can be obtained not only from milk, but from, among other things, our malunggay, the dilis, so many other things. And that was for women in Tondo. So we had a livelihood center in Tondo. That project lasted 20 years. And it was a prelude of our nutrition and kiddie class, so that the mothers would come in and we would help them to cook and all that. It was a livelihood center also to teach women how to cook and what to cook. And the children were, it's for the initial years, which is like the first 2 years, like prep and
So
kinder.
when do you know when to end a project? I mean, 20 years went on for a long time. Do you feel you've made enough difference?
It was, what do you call this, supported by the Harvard School of Medicine. But when the funds ran out, then we had to support it, and it progressed and became a kiddie class, which in itself is a wonder, because in one program on television, and I was talking about this and about our projects, the kiddie class and all that, and there is a priest beside me, and we were talking about the religious life of Filipinos and all that. And he says, before I start on what I am supposed to say, may I comment that I am one of those who started my education in the ZONTA run kiddie class. And he talked about it. I think half of his time was spent on talking about how good it was and the teachers that we had for them and how we helped them during UN Day and Christmas and all that. So it's really very fulfilling.
I know for a fact that Eleanor Biging, you are focusing on women in uniform,
Yes.
the police women.
Yes.
Why in particular them?
Yeah, because my husband was then with the Philippine National Police before he became a mayor. So way back in 2003, we started together with our founder, Mrs. Marilyn Dumondon. We started the Kabalikat Award, the search for the 10 outstanding police women of the Philippines, to give due recognition to their sacrifices, bravery, and excellence in their field. We partnered with the Philippine National Police and the Armed Corps Corporation we partnered with them, and then since last year, we were able to award 130 police women already.
What kind of qualities are you looking for in a policeman when you do award them?
It depends on their achievements in their field, like if they're in operation, in medical services, in the office, administration. It depends on their line of work.
And it's just so difficult just to come to think of it. It's a man's world, being a police
That's
man.
why we really
And
admire them, working with men, and then sacrificing their time, even sacrificing their own family, leaving behind their babies with the care of their immediate family. And really, sometimes when we hear them during final interviews, when we hear their stories, it really, it affected us close to tears.
So many stories. I can imagine Rita in Chameleon. This is a safe house
It is
for
yes.
for the abused women and girls
Right.
in the Bicol province. Tell us what are the most moving stories
Okay.
and that successful story that inspired everybody to keep going.
Yes, actually, well, I have visited, you know, the centers, and I've spoken to quite a few of them, and they are very normal now. They are happy. They have gotten their lives back, so that you know, I mean, they told me they are quite happy because the founder, Laurence Leger, said that when they came in first, they were so, I mean, they don't know what they are doing there. I mean, they don't really know what's happened to them. Then slowly they rehabilitate them. I must say that because of the success of our cooperation, we managed to help Chameleon build a third center, and this is now going to open in Negros in April of this year. Together with the help of another club, the ZONTA Club of Makati, their then president Mita Rufino, who is now our area director, who is from Bacolod. She was able to get a lot of 8,000 square meters for the third center, and with the help of BDO Foundation and the Belgian government, we are now able to build the center.
It's
We
good
are
to know
very-
that there's a lot
yes.
of help coming, but it also shows how big the problem is
Yes.
of women and girls who are abused, little talked about, but the demand is so great.
Yes, a lot of them. You know, actually, the founder was telling us that the first time she would see like four sisters, all pregnant by the father, and they all when you talk to them, they don't really know what to answer, and then they have lost themselves. So what they did was to help them psychologically. They even brought in the French circus, school of circus, to help these girls recover and feel that their bodies are at least are important, because after having gone through the experience, they don't feel that their bodies are part of themselves. So a lot of things happened. I understand that some of these girls are also being able to get jobs in France, for example, even if they still love the child that that they got out of after being raped. They still have this feeling of loving their child, her child. There's this lady. She's now in France. She has now a very good job. She still sends money to her son.
These are very touching
Yeah,
stories.
very touching
but
stories.
When you talk about human trafficking, Olivia, in a bigger sense, it's just so hard to grasp. I mean, what sort of psychological damage does it do to a woman or a girl? And how can you help somebody who's been trafficked and somebody who's been saved by the ZONTA women?
Well, it's certainly very devastating for the woman, you know. I mean, if it happens to her, if she's trafficked. Well, what we have done actually internationally is to come out with we have come out with a position paper on human trafficking. We also established, for instance, the protocols by which clubs can help women who have been trafficked, those who have been victims of modern slavery. And that is actually cascaded or populated to the different clubs, and the clubs actually handle and take the necessary action with regard to that particular problem.
Now, we're just talking about ZONTA here, but I know that you carry on different roles. Some of you very active in your own career paths. But how are you able to do it? I mean, well, these three of you are married and with children, and the other two have decided to stay single blessed.
Well, coming from the corporate world, I thought it was much easier than when you were in the corporate world. You call a meeting and everybody's there. And when you go to a club or an organization out of voluntarism, it's really very hard because people have their own work. This is just volunteer. But then again, it is a very enriching experience to be able to be on the other side of the fence.
Daisy, do you think being single blessed helped you find more time for Zonta?
Well, let me tell you that they say if you need to get something done, you have to give it to the busiest person. Otherwise, if they're not busy, they will not get it done. But being single, I think, was a matter of choice. I used to work in a law office, and I was doing 17-hour days, including weekends. So there's really not much. I mean, like you go out for dinner, you go out with a client. That's a part of the game. So really, being single, I think, was more a necessity, really.
Our three ladies have been able to manage. I mean, how were you able to do it in your own capacities?
Well, actually, I think you
Maybe.
have to have a very clear hierarchy of priorities, which of course changes, from time to time. When they're older, then maybe you can have more time for Zonta. I mean, that sort of thing, right? But when they're young, I mean, your priority, of course, is your family and your children. You have to have a good sense of discipline. You have to be able to manage your time very well. And I think what's important is you have to have a strong family support system. So, like my daughter falls and I'm in the office and I have a meeting with a client and, hey mom, can you come and help please? That sort of thing. A strong family support is very, very important.
Andy, what about yourself?
I have to pick that up. When Livy mentioned that there should be a strong family support, I should say, because I have been in the international, without the support of my husband, I don't think I'll be able to get there. Because when you join Zonta, especially if you have a role, time becomes demanding. They ask more time from you. And if a husband does not understand, then it becomes a problem. So I'm very thankful that my husband became very supportive. He knew that it is my way of giving back.
Being interesting that you made a mention, your husband was in the Philippine National Police.
Yeah.
How did that flow into your interest for helping police women?
Yeah, because I always see them. I always see them in the field. I always see their sacrifices, especially with the family. So my husband is very supportive with me. And in fact, my two daughters are with me with our club, with our son, Makati Paseo de Rojas. So Zonta inspired me so much that even in Tugigaraw, I always see to it that women are taken care of.
I'm really glad to hear all the achievements that you've made and the career paths you've chosen and the advocacy you took. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for your sharing. I much appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening to the Inspiring Conversations this Women's Month of March. That is it for the Boss's Remarkable Women episode. Tune in to iwant.ph or tfc.tv. I'm Kathy Yang. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next week.